This film will be focusing on the concept of truth itself, and therefore will be drawing from theories and concepts mentioned and developed in the accompanying TOK concept videos. The film will also develop the idea of knowledge frameworks, more of which in a moment. Suffice to say, these are essentially a toolkit with which students can assess knowledge in the different domains. The purpose of this assessment is ultimately to answer knowledge questions, the most fundamental being, what do we know and how do we know it? And in doing so, students will also be tackling the issue of truth. Most importantly, what is truth and what are the necessary and sufficient conditions for it? One of the course's key themes is the question over whether knowledge is absolute or relative. In other words, is knowledge something permanent, unchanging and universal, or is it far more fluid, gaining significance from the consensus view? This debate is encapsulated in a short exchange between Jesus and Pilate that you can see on the screen here. When it comes to thinking about the TOK course, truth has varying significance for the different areas of knowledge. For example, mathematical truths are logical and necessary. That means they have to be true. It's impossible for them not to be. However, truths in the natural sciences are contingent truths. This means they lack that gold standard of logical certainty and depend on the evidence for their validity. Yet, this evidence, being based on experimental data and theory, is also very strong, and therefore scientific truths have a strong claim to objectivity. At the other end of the scale, truths in the arts and ethics can be as psychologically certain, for the individual at least, as those in mathematics, yet they lack that logical certainty. This is because truth claims in these areas of knowledge are influenced far more by perspectives and interpretation. Linking the absolutism versus relativism debate to the knowledge frameworks, for me one of the themes of the TOK course is that it is a short history of skepticism, which is essentially the claim that knowledge is not possible. Therefore, the knowledge frameworks is offering us various tools and techniques whereby we can defend the possibility of knowledge against this radical challenge. In terms of academic and transferable skills, my view is that producing knowledge to explain phenomena is a problem-solving task. Therefore, the knowledge framework, when paired with creative and analytical thinking, is a skeleton key that can unlock learning not only in the TOK course, but in any discipline. As you might assume, the task of defining what knowledge is has long been a preoccupation in philosophy, and two frameworks proposed is that from Plato and Bertrand Russell. Russell divided knowledge into acquaintance knowledge, such as I know Lima or I know Diego, and propositional knowledge, such as Lima is the capital of Peru or Diego lives in Lima. On the whole, the TOK course is concerned with propositional knowledge. However, it would be fair to say that there's some overlap here, especially if we consider a third type of knowledge, ability knowledge, such as I can ride a bicycle. The issue comes when we think about language, since being able to speak a language is an ability, yet we express propositions with language. Plato's tripartite theory is another knowledge framework, which for my students at least is very popular. The appeal of this theory, I think, lies in its simplicity and apparent validity. It seems obvious that knowledge claims must be true, and after the first few lessons at least, knowledge claims must also be justified beliefs. However, it soon becomes apparent that Plato's tripartite theory throws up more questions and problems. Most notably, by including truth as a condition for knowledge, Plato is invoking circular reasoning. Truth is a requirement of what he is trying to prove. Moreover, As you go through the TOK course, certain problems, particularly that of illusion and induction, suggest that truth is at best murky and often hidden from us. The consequence is that in order to make a knowledge claim, we need to justify these with argument and evidence. The best way to do this is through application of the knowledge framework. Moreover, it's important to adopt an attitude of humility that is ready to accept the possibility of other perspectives and the limitations of our knowledge claims, especially with regard to certainty. One way to think about this approach is Aristotle's archer analogy, through which he claims epistemological and moral wisdom are skills which are developed through regular practice, applying the knowledge frameworks with integrity and modesty. Linking to the notion of ability knowledge, I think the archer metaphor is expressing the idea that knowledge production is a creative process made possible with analytical thinking. The main points to take away from this film are: 1. Knowledge frameworks are really toolkits that you can use to analyse knowledge claims, specifically in terms of truth, and also produce knowledge itself. One possible knowledge framework consists of the areas of knowledge, the methods of knowing, in addition to the TOK concepts themselves. A good way to think about the TOK course is that of a skill, which, when honed and practiced, provides students with the ability and attitude to respond well to knowledge questions.